live.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions.
Oh, the crack of the bat, and we are off. It is Detroit, City of Champions, 1935 year, a trilogy of books and a screenplay. And I'm telling you, man, this movie, I want a bag of popcorn to watch this thing right now.
Me too.
I just want to get into it and watch it. We're diving into the stories behind the 33 different championships won in 1935 in Detroit, and it just warms my heart because it was such a struggling city then. The city has a bunch of challenges right now. And I think it was on the way up for both. And
there's so many parallels with this time and now, and that's I think one of the things that really drew me to like it was because when I first started doing this, it was 2007, 2008, when the bubble burst, back in the big recession. And so especially at that point, there was so many different similarities between. Like I was working on this book and work on that's really getting going on this thing. And it was, I mean, a lot of people remember 2007, 8, and it was like, it was tough times. Yeah. It was not easy especially, Detroit and all this. And so that's what I mean. Like there was so many different like parallels because this is the Great Depression. And then we were like kind of in the Great Recession. Yeah. And I just thought it was just how many, I just really initially, I just thought how cool this would be. Like the message being, if they, like a sort of like a beacon of light, like, even though this is about sports, it still comes from an era of Detroiters that if they could do it, if they could get through the Great Depression, then we could get through this recession and the current issues of Detroit. I just thought what a wonderful parallel between that time and ours.
It is. it really is. And the trilogy of books came to be, and then the screenplay is written. It just needs to be produced. And I can't. And again, I love being here, Charles, as you tell these stories, and I get to be a fly on the wall with my good friend Tom. We're becoming friends, so I enjoy.
Tom started off as a special guest, and it was like we were putting the item, the article, the description for the show. Special guest Tom Urich.
So how many times do I have to type special?
I know,
guest?
Like it got to the point where
I'm like, just let him be here every week because he's awesome.
Yeah,
he knows his crap, and we're gonna enjoy having him around.
Well, it's an honor to be here to listen to Charles tell the story.
Well, we have fun, man. We all like to talk about it, and it's a cool thing.
Because I'm not. I'm admittedly not a sports guy, right? I like history. I love Detroit. I don't know nothing about sports.
But you're learning, man. You keep saying that. But you're learning, Jamie.
I enjoy. But I'll go to at least one game of every team every year, just because I love the experience. And again, I love the city. I love people getting excited about the city, and I'm excited about the sports. I like it more when they're losing because the tickets are cheaper.
Yeah, that's less, yeah.
I'm just cheap like that, Tom. I'm a high school teacher, man. I'm working on a budget here. If they're losing, I get them $5 Bleacher Creature tickets, and I'm good. Yeah, I remember the Bleacher Creatures. I was young, and I knew about it. I never got to go. We would go with the Altar Boys and the Cub Scouts. We would get on a bus and go downtown to Briggs Stadium, Tiger Stadium.
That brings back memories to me because I used to go to the bleachers get the doubleheader for 50 cents.
All right,
up in the center field bleachers.
I'm from Kalamazoo, so we would come out from Kalamazoo to go to a Tiger game.
Yeah.
We'd say we were going out to look at colleges or whatever, and we would drive out from Kalamazoo and go to a Tiger game, and there was literally nobody in the bleachers. We get a Crazy Bread coupons. It was buy one ticket get one free, and they were $2 anyway, so it was $1 a ticket.
Yeah. And so, talking about the teams, of course, we've gone through a bit with the Tigers and we've gone through a bit with the Lions, and now we're working our way through the Red Wings. We're looking at the roster from 1935 because there were changes in 1935, and we talked about some guys last week. Where are we heading to this week?
Yeah, so just sort of a refresh of where we're at this exact moment. We've already gone through the history of the NHL. We've talked about Jack Adams, how he's just a tremendous player.
Yeah.
We worked our way through how he beat, the Detroit hockey franchise's second year in existence. He became their guiding hand, their coach and general manager. And he's still a young guy at this point. I mean, he'd retired from hockey, but he's still a young guy. And so, he starts laying down the foundation for this team. His very first year, he starts the Detroit Olympics, which is a minor league club, and they play at Olympia Stadium. And then year after year, he's finding peace, one guy at a time. He's building his franchise, and he's identifying, one star. Each year, it seemed like he'd found one more star.
Right.
And so, and then of course, we talked about how when the Great Depression hit, the stock market crash and everything, the fortunes of the Detroit hockey franchise absolutely plummeted. From the Cougars to the Falcons, and then the franchise was just literally on its last. Like the team was being managed or they were owned by the bankers who own the rights to the team. They were in bankruptcy, and that was Jack Adams' bosses were the actual bankers who were managing the team through receivership. And then along comes the hero, James Norris, to this fabulously wealthy, diehard hockey fan with a grudge against Frederick McLaughlin from the Blackhawks, and to wage his on ice war with McLaughlin, Blackhawks with the newly named Detroit Red Wings, which is he's the guy that brought that name to the team. And so in their first couple of years, their fortunes certainly increased. So Norris started putting money into the team, and in their second year of Norris ownership, the Red Wings go to their first Stanley Cup Finals, and they lose to the Blackhawks. Like I say, this rivalry with the Blackhawks is growing over the years. And then the following year, the year after their first Stanley Cup appearance, the Red Wings, which is we're talking about 1934-35, and the Red Wings have an absolutely awful season. And so we've already talked about the idea that we've certainly talked about it at length, how the Tigers and Lions were having this incredible year. And at this exact same moment that these other two teams are playing fantastic, the Red Wings are just the nobodies. I mean, there's very little information on them. They may cover the game and tell you what happened, but you've got barrels of ink being used to cover the Tigers. Maybe coffee mugs full of ink to cover the Lions, because they're far less incredibly underreported at this moment. Yeah. And then spoonfuls of ink to cover the Red Wings at this point. And the Red Wings knew that Adams and Norris, they had to have known. I don't have anything for them saying, oh, we knew that we had to do it now. But but the writing was on the wall that this was that Detroit was experiencing this sports renaissance. And if they were not part of it, if they were the only team that did not win, then they would be left behind, and those spoonfuls of ink would become thimbles full, if anything at all. So,
we noted that the Lions' first game in the midst of was that during 34?
Yes.
34. And the Lions' first game, you happen to find just a little blurb about it. In this whole big section all about the Tigers.
Well, what it was remember, Wendy had given me that newspaper, and it was the Tigers had just clinched the pennant the previous day. That's why it was her. I believe it was her father that had left it to her. Yeah, and that's why he kept it, because it was a Tiger. He had just won the pennant newspaper, and you comb through the entire sports section, and there wasn't even a match. It was like the day after, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's
football."
Yeah, I think it was one day after they had played their first game, and there was like.
They talked about it.
They talked
about the other team more. Yeah. There was the star on the other team.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like the Tigers were the dominant coverage at this moment. And so that's what I'm saying. Anything that the Red Wings did get was, especially when they're having this awful year, they're for all intents and purposes, the Red Wings are irrelevant at this moment.
So if they didn't do it, it wasn't going to happen.
Exactly. And so even though there's no documented necessarily evidence where it says, where with Jack Adams and Jim Norris saying, well, we need to win now, the evidence is in what they did, their actions, right. And because it's really started out with this massive move at the end of the year. They had, I believe, 16 games left in the season, and then they go out and spend $50,000 to get Sid Howe and Scotty Bowman.
That's just throwing some big money around.
Exactly. And that's eye-popping numbers. They'd never made a move like that ever. They'd never spent $50,000 on a player. They even had Cooney Weiland as one of the best scorers in the game at that point. And they'd never spent that kind of money on him. They'd never spent that kind of money on anybody. And so to make a move like that, and especially the players that they got back. We'd already talked about Sid Howe. and just an incredibly flashy goal scorer, that the Ottawa assassin, and then we got Scotty Bowman, and then this defenseman, this just tough as nails defenseman who was like an up and comer. And so that was a big move. And so, like I say, that just their behavior, just their actions indicate, especially since, Mickey Cochran had been purchased for $100,000.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is, if a hockey team is spending $50,000 on a player and, a couple of guys, that's like, it's not Mickey Cochran numbers, but hell, it's eye popping just like that.
Yeah.
And so that, that kind of a move makes headlines. And that's, I think, we were talking about it last week. I was kind of joking about the idea that, you can imagine that the Eagles, the St. Louis Eagles, which they got it from, we're saying, we'll take 47,000 or something, and they're going, no, we want to give you 50,000, because it's just a bigger, rounder number. It's a flashier, it's almost worth the headlines at that for this. And so anyway, so we talked about a few of the guys they got, they got Bowman, they got Scotty Bowman and Sid Howe towards the end of the season. So they had a few games left to kind of work them in. And then we also talked about at the end of 34 and 35, how they acquired Marty Berry in a big trade for their only all-star, Cooney Weiland. They traded him to get Marty Berry, who was also just an elite. It was just a flip. It was like a swap of centers, which was kind of crazy because everybody was like, why would you both trade your two of the best centers in the game for each other? That was kind of the situation. And we talked about that last week of, the rationale behind that trade. And that trade would linger through the entire year as a conversation. People were like, who got the better end of that trade? And then we also talked about, so those were three of the guys, on top of the five main, their core five.
Then came the Hurricane.
Yep. So we had exactly Heck Kilrea. Heck Kilrea. They
I only knew because I had the picture.
Hurricane. Yeah, we got Hurricane.
Sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
Hurricane Heck Kilrea. And then so these are
those four.
Yeah, so these are four more guys that they got. So on top of their core five, that's 9. And so because Adams realized they got to reform the entire.
I'm good to go with
okay, cool. So they had, they're trying to rebuild this team because they know they got to be competitive. And so they had Hurricane Heck Kilrea for $7,500, which was not as splashy as $50,000, but he's a solid winger, solid player. And one of the guys we didn't mention last week, and I sort of forgot to mention him. He's not necessarily a star, but he's going to play a role throughout the rest of the season. His name was Pete Kelly, and they got Pete Kelly in the. We mentioned how the St. Louis Eagles had a dispersal draft, and there was a little bit of controversy over the idea because the Eagles had sold Scotty Bowman and Sid Howe, and then like a couple months later, there's the dispersal draft, and all these other teams are like, hey, we could have got those guys for free in the dispersal draft, and then you guys made a deal to sell them and buy them from. They, especially McLaughlin was annoyed by that.
More millionaires getting mad at each other.
Yeah. So anyway, so in that dispersal draft, the Red Wings got a guy named Carl Voss. And then so they I believe I had to take another look, but I believe he had played with them previously, and they kind of knew what they were getting with him. And so they went with they traded him after during this dispersal draft at these winter meetings they traded him for Pete Kelly. That's how Pete Kelly arrives with the Red Wings. Is he was actually the selection of the New York Americans. And then he is traded for Carl Voss. That's how he arrives with the Red Wings. So there's actually that fifth guy that they've acquired. So they've got like sort of their core 10 at this point that they're going in the league with. Now, this is where we're going into for today's episode. Yeah. And we're going with today's episode is like this is going to be I love this stuff. I can't wait because today we're talking about three of these other guys that they got, which are going to be absolutely huge contributors to the rest of the season. And the understanding these three players is necessary to understand the fact that the Detroit Olympics, the minor league team. Mm-hmm. So as we mentioned last week, and I'm going to say it again today to launch this story off, is that the Detroit Olympics actually. So the Detroit Olympics, and so while the Red Wings were terrible in 1934-35, the Detroit Olympics won their championship. They won the IHL championship, which is the symbolized with the Teddy Oak Trophy. So they won the Teddy Oak Trophy, the symbol of 1934-35 IHL hockey supremacy. Okay. So while the parent club was awful, the minor league team are great.
Yeah.
You know, they win the championship. And three of their core guys, there's a lot of guys that we're going to cover. There's no way to cover them all these guys today, nor is it necessarily essential for the story we're telling now, but we will get to them. And because there's some great players on that team. There's some really great players and some stories that spin off into all these other directions. But for today, we're going to focus on three guys. And the first of which is the goalie, Normie Smith, the goalie of the 1934-35 Olympics. And you can see the picture we have on the screen. I've got a photo. The photos I've got some of the greatest photos that you can imagine for Normie Smith. If like every once in a while you see, like I say, he's one of the guys very rarely that gets you see a picture of him maybe somewhere or another. The picture you normally see is the one at the bottom of the screen that we have that I have on this here. Actually, I colorize it. Usually it's in black and white. And
okay.
I said in my books, I'm not using the same pictures that anybody else has used in their books. I'm not doing that. Right. And so this picture is seen out there in other books. At least this picture with him wearing a baseball cap. But the picture that I have, it was hand colorized by a friend of mine named Dennis Garashia. So that is not, so it's the same, it's a picture that's been seen, but we colorized it. So it's a different, so technically it's a different
one
shot.
better.
Yes, it's
It's like turning it up to 11.
I said, I'm not using exactly. Take it up to 11. I love that. That's the greatest analogy. I use that too. I love that. We took that picture up to an 11. Yeah. So, anyways, but the picture at the top of the screen that we have, one is a picture of Normie Smith, an incredibly rare photo. It's got, in fact, this picture, if you could really look close enough, in the bottom right hand corner, it says, and it's actually written on the photo, 1935 Olympics. This is Normie Smith wearing an Olympics jersey. And why this is how rare this is that this comes out of Normie Smith's own photo album. Oh, okay. I met his daughter Norma Smith, and if she's listening, she's a friend of mine on Facebook, and just an absolute, just totally, just a total, just so nice, incredible, just an absolute, just so nice for this. She was so nice to let me. I mean, like I talked to her. I forgot how I met her. If it was a friend of a friend, or but she might have even been the friends with Gary Bowman, who had met also somehow from somewhere. But anyways, she was just, I tell her I'm trying to do this book, and I'm looking for photos and stuff, and she's like, come on over. I was like in her house for like, just met her brand new, and I'm in her house for like 4 or 5 hours scanning, her dad's scrapbooks, photo albums. And Normie Smith, I just want to say this. His collection of Red Wings, he kept every single article for like, I don't know, 6-7 years of his hockey career. He kept, the scrapbooks are amazing. It was literally a chronology of every single game.
And she still has all that. It's a family treasure.
Yeah, it's a fan. So she's like, here, this is his album. She brings, I'm thinking he's got, she's got a couple of scrapbooks,
yeah,
and she's got an encyclopedia.
Oh my God.
Like a Red Wings 1930s encyclopedia. I'm like, oh my God, where do I even start with this? Yeah. And so I just was doing the best I could to read and scan and do what I could, and she had a lot of original photos and stuff. And this is a photo out of Normie Smith's own collection, and he's actually written on the photo 1935 Olympics. Right. That's just the coolest. It's like written in his own handwriting and stuff. So anyways, yeah. So I've got a picture, what we got here is a picture of Normie Smith on the Olympics. And there's so many other great photos. When I was putting these slides together, I was like torn, because I've got, he had photos of his entire career. He had photos of himself with the Quebec Beavers. Oh, wow. He had photos of himself with every team. There's photos of him on a Pee-wee midget team, like from 1916. So, and they were all like, he's a goalie in all these different shots, and they're just super clear, high resolution. I'm like, so they're all on the books.
That is a great shot.
So yeah, so I've got a special section, and it's the Normie Smith's teams. And what it was I think I've got 8 different photos. He's got like 8 different teams, and it's just every different team of Normie Smith that he had played with. And I'll give you a quick rundown here. I actually got them written down. So 1924. So he played Pee-wee hockey, as I mentioned. And when he was 16 years old, he took sort of an interesting detour. and he went off to become to work on a fishing boat for 4 years. So his hockey career is interrupted with a 4-year stint on a fishing boat. And so it was, according to legend, and this is where legend starts to meet. Was it the
Black Pearl by any chance?
It was not that, but maybe something a little bit more interesting.
Did he run like this?
But I think maybe something even potentially more interesting.
Okay.
Because according to legend, and I've got the legend, the article in the book, right, is that he learned his excellence as a goalie increased. It became better because he was using a spear to fish. So his hand-eye coordination, his spear fishing, what became he learned, there's he's learning how to be, his goalie skills improved, kind of like Miyagi and Karate Kid, where it's paint the fence and stuff. Maybe he went out to become a fisherman and with the spear fishing simply to improve his goalie skills. That's my theory.
That's it. I like that story.
It's a theory, right? So I like
that story.
I mean, it's in print that's what that he actually gives some credit to his spearfishing as improving his goalie skills.
I thought you were going to say the balance and being on the boat and his balance.
But who's that? Who's to say that wasn't part of it too? But he actually gives credit in an article where he talks about the spearfishing and how it improved his goalie skills. And that's one of the questions I wonder is did he go off to sea for 4 years just to because that's the level of the goalie he wanted to become. But that's a matter of conjecture. That's a hypothesis.
I'm going with that story.
Okay, good. Okay,
that's the story I'm going to tell people.
Yeah. So he's gone for 4 years and he comes back and he joins up. So he joins a semi-pro team called Adams Furniture in 1929-30. And then from there, he must have played pretty well because from there, the Montreal Maroons, which is literally at this point, the Montreal Maroons is just one of the most proudest organizations that there was. Montreal Maroons are just an absolutely just legendary organization at this point. So the Montreal Maroons, the Montreal Maroons sign him, but he gets sent to their minor league team, which is the Windsor Bulldogs. So in this year, 1930-31, he wins the IHL. He's the goalie for their team, and they win the IHL championship, which is the minor league championship that year.
All right.
So 1931-32, which is the following year, he's promoted by the Maroons. But he is injured in a freak collision with Howie Morenz. Howie Morenz's name. Howie Morenz is one of the best, if not the best, goal scorers in the NHL. And he has a collision with him and gets mangled up. The following year, he returns to Windsor as a minor leaguer for the Maroons to kind of build back after this injury. And it's there that he begins to wear, which it becomes his signature thing, which is in this photo, as you see, a baseball hat. So Normie Smith, like you see in this photo here, anytime you see a goalie wearing a baseball hat and he's a Red Wings guy, it's Normie Smith, because that was like his signature look. He's sporting a baseball cap in goal. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why he wore this baseball cap was because the glare from the overhead lights would get into his eyes, or, this helped him shade the glare from the lights. So he sported a baseball hat. So like from this point on, you're going to pretty much every photo you're going to see with Normie Smith, the one up in the top right corner, that was like, I believe that's an ery photo, because pretty much every photo you're ever going to see is him wearing a baseball hat. So that's 32-33, and 33-34, he's signed by the Quebec Beavers, which is outside they're not part of the IHL. They're sort of like they're another minor league. I want to say they're a little bit less as much of a big deal as the IHL. But so he's signed by the Quebec Beavers. And again, I got this great photo. I wanted to show it so bad. The jersey is so cool. It's got a Q with a beaver on it, where it's like sitting on the Q. It's like it's the coolest jersey. And then in 34-35, he is signed by the St. Louis Eagles. There's this team again, the Eagles. And so from there, he is traded to the Red Wings for a guy named Burr Williams, who was actually Burr Williams is interesting because he's like kind of like this weird trade fodder. Like he seems like always, like whenever there's a trade, like you always are like, this guy was traded for Burr Williams. And then there's like another team that's talking on like Burr Williams and this other guy were part of the deal. Like it's like he's always like trade bait. He's like, I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
But they're always using him like, hey man, we need another defenseman. Get us Burr Williams. We'll trade him for whoever, So he was always getting passed around. Like he played for the Red Wing or for the minor league, the Olympics at least 2 times, because he Burr Williams ends up coming back at one point. So he's traded for Burr Williams, and so Normie Smith comes to the Red Wings, and then he's sent to the Olympics for the 1934-35 season, where he becomes the goalie for that championship team, and he finishes the season with a 2.00 goals against average, which is about as good as you're going to get. So he was he has a great year with the Red Wings, and this is so it's to refresh our listener and viewers' memory. Jack Adams had this belief that a good goalie was 60% of the game. It was 60% of a team. That was like a good goalie was just absolutely essential. And so Adams had caught lightning in a bottle 2 years in a row.
Right.
The two years previous, they had found John Ross Roach, who took the team to their first playoff. He was the first Red Wings goalie, John Ross Roach, and he had a great year in his first year with the Red Wings. They won their first playoff series. And then the following year, if you remember the previous episode, Wilf Cued was this wonderkind in 1933-34, who took him all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. But Wilf Cued was on loan from Montreal. So this is the year 34-35 in which Wilf Cued is no longer on the Red Wings. So they had basically, they borrowed a player that was looked at as a third. He was a young goalie. And then he blew up with the Red Wings. Now Montreal wants him back. Now he's Montreal's goalie. And so the Red Wings are sort of in this spot again. And so they try to bring back John Ross Roach, and Roach has a terrible year in 34-35, which is one of the catalysts, kind of vindicating Adams' belief that a good goalie is 60% of the team, because Roach didn't have a very good year. So the team sort of fell apart. And so at the meantime, Normie Smith is leading the Olympics to the championship. And so, now it becomes, Adams starts to think, well, maybe I got this goalie with the Olympics that could do some good up here. And so anyway, so that's where we're going to sort of leave Normie Smith. You can see, the evolution, his story, how he's leading his career is leading to the Red Wings. And that's where, so this is a guy that we're going to come back to for sure. But that's like sort of his lead up.
Hey there, Normie.
Norm.
I like Normie Smith.
Oh, dude, you're gonna like him a lot more as the story unfolds. Yeah,
I like it.
That's why it's so essential to introduce.
Did he wear that baseball hat while he was playing, or was that just for pictures?
No, he wore it while he was playing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, in fact, for pictures, if it's a staged photo, a lot of times that's pretty much the only time you don't see him with a hat.
Oh,
if he's wearing a hat, he's in a game.
That's just nuts. I mean, now they wear these quadruple bulletproof.
Yeah, he's wearing a baseball
he's out there
hat.
with a baseball cap.
Yeah.
Well, the other guys
totally
aren't wearing
cool.
anything at all.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
So.
And I don't think he was 100% unique in that regard. I think there's a couple other goalies I've seen photos of that were wearing hats at that time. But that was what he was absolutely known for. Like that was like, as far as whenever you see like a Red Wing specifically wearing a baseball hat, that's Normie Smith. So
love that.
Yeah, so that's Normie. So we're gonna leave him. That's where we're gonna leave off with Normie. We'll pick up with him in a little bit. But so the next guy we're going to talk about is a guy named Wally Kilrea. So where have we heard the last name Kilrea before?
Oh, where we were Kilrea.
We talked about Heck earlier on in the show.
Yeah.
Heck is one of the guys the Red Wings signed. So Heck's $7,500. The Red Wings got Hurricane Heck Kilrea. And so in the meantime, so Heck Kilrea is the older brother of Wally. Okay. And so so Heck is like a star. Okay. Heck played with Jack Adams in Ottawa. Right. Heck is a bona fide star at this point. And he's not a superstar, but he's a star. He's like everywhere he goes, he puts up numbers. He's a great player. He's always, usually on the kind of a second line guy, but he's always a contributor in some capacity.
That Ottawa team that keeps coming up.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. When I introduced this a few episodes ago, I told you these guys were going to come up because there are so many components from that team.
He was from that, and now this is his older brother, Wally.
His youngest. This is his
younger brother.
And so Wally Kilrea is going to, Wally Kilrea takes a completely different route than his brother. Whereas his brother again was like a star, Wally was basically like he was going from team to team to team, looking for a way to stick with these teams. He one of the biggest. He's one of these players that. He didn't necessarily excel at any one thing. Like if there was going to be an attribute for Wally Kilrea, it would just be like heart. Like it would just be like just a total, the kind of guy that is going to like give you every single ounce that he's got. He's a hustle guy. He's a kind of, and in fact, his nickname, he's got one of the greatest nicknames. His nickname is the Pest. His nickname is Wally the Pest Kilrea.
That's a good name in hockey.
Yeah. So he's the Pest. So he's great on offense. He's great on, he's good on offense. He's basically can do everything good, but he's not particularly great at anything. But what takes his game up to the next level is the fact that he's just like, he hustles. Like he's like a nonstop motor. He's he's just got this determination to hang in. And
he's coming up from the Olympics as well.
Yes, so just a quick summary of Wally. So Wally ends up playing for 5 years with Sid Howe on 5 different teams.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy because Wally in his youth, Wally for most of his, since his youth, had a banged up nose. He had a banged up nose, and it was Sid Howe had banged up his nose when they were kids on some amateur rink somewhere. And so his nose was like permanently altered from something Sid had done to him. And so the crazy thing is how they both were on. He's played 5 years with Sid Howe on 5 different teams. So everywhere they went, isn't it cool? And that doesn't even count like the amateurs. They don't even count their years in the amateurs together. And so anyway, so the photo we have on the screen is a picture of Wally with the Olympics jersey on and one with the Red Wings jersey. That's from the same year because he was on both teams, as we're going to find out. So anyways, so Ottawa, so he starts out his career with Ottawa, and he's on the same team as Sid Howe in 1929-30 with Ottawa. He goes over the same thing, follows Sid Howe over when the Ottawa temporarily suspends operations, and he goes to Philadelphia Quakers from the 1930-31 season. So he's part of the same team with Sid Howe as one of the worst team in NHL history. They only win 6 games. And then 31-32, he goes to New York Americans. Then he goes to Ottawa. He finishes up the season with the Maroons in 32-33. So he's like on 2 different teams, Ottawa and the Maroons in 32-33. And then in 34, he ends up on the Olympics. So he's on the Detroit Olympics in 34-35. And so he's back sort of in the minor leagues. So he's been in the NHL for a good number of years, but again, he's never really been a star. And I think at this point, he's just looking for an opportunity. And he lands up on the Olympics with a chance to, basically play full-time minutes and get a chance to play. And so Wally, he takes full advantage of his play. And so he ends up becoming the captain of the Olympics. Oh, like he's like this heart and hustle guy, and he just becomes like this captain of this Olympics.
He's got that All-American look there in that Olympics jersey.
Totally.
He looks like he's one of the junior Avengers.
Yeah, and he's this is the type of guy that had to learn to basically play all the positions. He was a forward. He's could play center, left wing, right wing, and he's just could wherever they needed him. He's he could play wherever, and he's in whatever sort of situation you needed him, he'd be there. But you brought up a photo on there, Jamie. You can slide back down on that. So this is a photo of this is when Wally was in the minor leagues with the Olympics, and I was so happy to see this photo because I read there was an article that accompanies this photo, and I read this article, and then there was a photo, and what it is you can see in this picture if you can see it. What's so great is that Wally is this short little 5'6" guy, and he is just pounding this guy who's like 6'3". I mean, look at the difference in size. It's kind of a grainy photo, but you can see he's stretching his arms up over his head to hit this guy in the face. Like it's literally a David and Goliath fight, and David is socking this guy in the face. I mean, you see this shot. He's got his legs braced and everything, man. He is impacting this guy, and the guy is hitting is Eric Pettinger. Eric Pettinger was play with numerous. He was basically a career minor leaguer, but he was always one of those tough guy grinder. He was like sort of an enforcer / kind of scorer. Like he was a tough guy, and he was a brother of a guy that Wally would eventually play with. Another Pettinger, Gord Pettinger Gord Pettinger played for. He's going to have a storyline of his own, but he bounced between the Olympics and the Red Wings. And we're going to talk about him when we start talking about the season itself. But so this is Gord Pettinger's brother, Eric, and Wally is just pounding this guy, dude. He's going to town with him.
I love it.
And so, and one of the things too, I didn't have a picture of it on this, but one of the cool things to add a little extra interest to this particular fight. That's what I'm saying. Like this one little fight was like a whole story into itself because everybody in the crowd was amazed that little Wally was taking it to Eric Pettinger, who's one of the tough guys in the minor leagues, just pound on him. But everybody was interested, especially a special guest on that particular evening, Mr. Joe Louis. Was in the audience that night, watching this. And they actually I got a quote from this. It's actually kind of on the spot. Yeah. I got to dig it out real quick. Yeah. I got a quote from Joe Louis
Oh.
on this fight with this. Yeah. So it says,
see that reach and
it says,
take that to the ring, man.
Look right here. Sitting back of Wally Kilrea and Eric Pettinger at Olympia the other night was Joe Louis. Standing up, he looked at little Kilrea and the husky Pettinger as much to say, what the hell? He was trying to figure out with what Kilrea smacked down the Londoner in that fight on the ice. So Joe Louis watched Wally pound this guy. He's like, damn. Like,
I need some of those skills.
Like, how cool is that Joe Louis was there that night to watch?
It gives you a thumbs up on your fight.
Yeah. So as you can see, you can imagine, like I'm reading about this on a microfilm screen, and I'm like, dude, this fight was awesome. Joe Louis, and then I flip the microfilm page and there's the picture of him socking Eric Pettinger. I go, oh my God, there's a photo of it. They were good at they were good at what they did. They're actually like, oh, and by the way, here's the photo of the actual impact of the fight. Somebody was not sleeping during this moment of the game. So anyway, so that kind of shows you, it kind of shows you the kind of guy he was, and he became the captain of the team, and he was the kind of guy that he could just do a little bit of everything. He was good at just doing everything. He was a pest. He would keep the puck away from other players. He would annoy other guys. He would do whatever, and he's gonna play he's going to for most of the season, he's going to be kind of he's just going to be, there's so many other stars that he actually is kind of in the background quite a bit, but he's going to shine. He's going to be one of the key contributors down the stretch for the Red Wings championship. And so I just spoiled the whole show. Did I say what they ended up doing? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You can't say what's going to happen at the end of the story. But anyways, no, he's going to play just a huge role, and Adams is going to single him out as one of his top 10 performers, nice. like moments of the entire finals and everything. So anyways, that's Wally. We're going to leave him there leave him there too. So so now we're going to get to my guy. This is the guy that I don't even think you guys understand how excited I am to talk about this guy right here. This guy, I already said it before. I said Ebby Goodfellow is my favorite Red Wing from this era. He's my favorite, like pound for pound, year in, year out Red Wing. But Bucko McDonald is my favorite from the 1935 season. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think you guys understand how much I revere this player. He is it's tough for me to say he's not my favorite player, because he totally is my favorite player, but he's my favorite 35 guy. But overall, Ebby is, but Bucko McDonald is just the greatest guy, man. I love this guy. So anyways, Bucko McDonald, just to kind of intro into his story. So Bucko McDonald was a Hall of Fame Canadian lacrosse player. Oh, okay.
That's her national game.
Yeah. So he is a Hall of Fame Canadian lacrosse player. This guy is 20 years old when he first. Check this out. So he's already, I'll set it up. Eventually he will get inducted in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. There's also the Ontario Lacrosse Federation named an award after him, which is the highest scoring player gets the Bucko McDonald Trophy. Okay. That's still around to this day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. He would end up becoming a politician. He'd end up teaching Bobby Orr, converted him into from a just a pure defensive a player into an offense. He taught him how to be an offensive defenseman. Bobby Orr, he was Bobby Orr's teacher. So Bucko McDonald had this incredible career. But he's only 20 years old. He's only 20 years old when he first when he's coming from the lacrosse fields to suit up to play hockey. So these first two guys we talked about, Normie Smith and Wally Kilrea, these are sort of guys that Normie's going off to the fishing boat. These guys took 5 to 10 years before they got to the Red Wings through this crazy long journey. But Bucko is 20 years old.
He's a young buck.
He's totally young. And so anyways, Bucko, he makes his bones in lacrosse. And so these other guys are all playing hockey, everything. His first hockey he's ever played is 1933-34 with the Buffalo Bisons. He gets signed to the Buffalo Bisons, are the minor league team of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Conn Smythe signs him because he's just this wonderkin at lacrosse, and they're maybe his lacrosse skills can translate, because there was other guys in it. Lionel Conacher was a lacrosse player and ended up becoming a major, just this superstar hockey player. So there was other lacrosse players that had made that transition. They're thinking, oh, maybe Bucko can do the same thing. And so they bring him to Buffalo. He has no chance to make the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are like a dynasty superstar team. And so they sent him to their minor league team, which is Buffalo. And down in Buffalo, he only plays 3 games in his first year.
What a waste.
He only gets 3 games. And so he's like looking for a way. He's like, I want to play, I want to do this thing. So the Olympics pick him up. They traded like he was part of like a 4-player deal. Like he was basically a toss-in this 4-player deal.
Okay.
So when he comes to the Olympics, this is what's key to understand about him. When he first arrives at the Olympics in 1934-35, he arrives at the Olympics and he has played a grand total of 3 hockey games of any significant, like at any significant level. Like he didn't follow this chain all the way up where he's like playing amateurs and then seniors and then goes through all these steps. This guy's played 3 games of hockey in his entire career at this point. Okay. But here's the thing. He's also a superstar lacrosse player. So he's got that going for him. Right. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I want to read. So when I wrote this Bucko chapter, this was a very special chapter to me because, there was so much ink on Bucko McDonald. Okay. There was so many, this guy is the very definition of a fan favorite. These writers loved him so much. They loved him so much that this was a unique experience. I was able to write an entire chapter on a player. Okay. An entire section. I called it. It was like maybe 30 page, 20 something pages long. And I didn't say a single thing the entire section. All I did was say the date and the sort of the circumstances of which the quote was appeared. And I didn't say anything. I said it right from the beginning of the chapter of his section. I said, there were so many articles on Bucko McDonald from this year that a rare opportunity exists that I could actually step back and let the writers of the time tell the story. Almost like cobbled together as like a book. You know what I mean? Like I cobbled together their writings to assemble like a book of Bucko McDonald from 1935. And when I was done, it was like, it was actually kind of hard when I started doing it. I was like, because you have to attach stuff, you have to. So it was like I limited myself like, max like 2 sentences to connect any article. And I did it. I was so proud of myself when I was done with it because it's the only section in all 3 books that the writers do all the talking. I don't say a single thing. Nice. And so I actually say in there, like, I'm going to turn it over to them now. And just like I said in the book, I'm going to turn it over now to this because I want to introduce the sort of the first, the beginning of what I did with this because this writer introduces Bucko so well.
Does it start with like, is this one of the first pieces of ink on him?
Yeah. This one, the first piece of ink on him. And also that I used in this book. Okay. This is like the introduction to Bucko. And I love this because it really talks about his personality. Okay. This just shows you, and it kind of gives you a reason why everybody loved him. All right,
and that's why I love about this is just we got you sharing these things. I love this part of it.
Yeah. So anyway, here we go. What is it? 5:46.
I love all these the Detroit Times,
but they're so colorful when they're writing. They are so colorful. They're so just wait till you hear that. Okay, so it's a little bit of a long quote, but just sit back, relax. If you got a drink, pour one off, right? I've got a drink. I'm going to take a sip of mine just to get into the mood.
Get into the moment. Here we go. Cheers.
All right. So anyways, this is a Bob Murphy interview with Bucko McDonald. And this is at this point of his section is where I stopped talking 1 sentence before. And then from this point on, the rest of the section is all the writers of this time. So this is the first one I used. All right. So here you go. This is Bob Murphy interview with Bucko McDonald. All right. Sometimes when I look at myself in the mirror, confided Bucko, well, sir, I feel like just saying, Bucko, you are the luckiest devil I know. You get plenty of sleep, you've got good health, and more pep than the law allows. You like to dance and you like to sing. And yes, Bucko, you like to talk. The only thing you need, Bucko, is more people who will listen when you feel like talking. Bucko turned on a wide smile and roared with laughter as he completed that little discourse. With that, Bucko went right along telling me things about himself. In quick succession, he confided that automobiles are one of his weaknesses, that Eddie Goodfellow is his ideal of all that any hockey player should be, that he, Bucko, can square dance with the best of them, and that he started out in professional athletics as a lacrosse player at the age of 16. Bucko was questioned more closely about his square dancing. Must take it from my daddy, he said. Yes, I can sling those puppies in a square dance. We have mixed dancing up around Sandridge, both square and round, but I'm really at my best when they start swinging partners. So the next thing, heck must suffer. Bucko made the rafters in Charlie Jacobs Olympia restaurant ring with laughter when his singing was mentioned. Ask Heck Kilrea, my roommate, about my singing, he said. I'm not a good singer, but it's one way of letting off steam. Heck's always kidding me about making up new lines for songs. I don't get around to memorizing words, but once I hear a tune, I make up my own lines. Pretty tough on Heck, I guess, but I've got to be doing something all the time. Some of us have more than our share of pep, and I'm one of them. So turned down by the Leafs. Bucko recalls with a great deal of delight that he first signed by Toronto, but that Connie Smythe couldn't see him as a prospect and sent him shuffling off to Buffalo. The Wings brought him to Buffalo, and actually this amazing young Bucko the Socko has been playing pro hockey less than 2 full seasons. Bucko's mother has seen him play hockey only once. I don't like for her to see me play, he said. She'd do a lot of worrying. The correspondent then had to chuckle that anyone should worry about Bucko the Socko not being able to take care of himself. Oh, you guys think I'm bloodthirsty because I sock him, he answered, but I'm really not. I've just found out a way to make him respect you is to let him have it when they least expect it. Yeah. Most of the times when I get in a good lick is when the other fellow is off balance, and I've always hit him clean and always will hit him clean. So this is you get this like sense of who you're about to hear about, like this guy. Yeah. Like this guy is so cool. Like he's got the personality is just so awesome, man. He's like, I like the square dance and all this. He's just every single photo you will ever see Bucko in. He's smiling. This photo we have right here, he gets known because of he's got this appetite. Like this guy, so this is a real photo. When he went to eat dinner at this Hotel Statler, they brought him out this side of beef. He would eat. He was just known for it was a reputation that he actually started to try to live up to with outlandish displays of eating. Because he was known for all this, for eating these 3 hamburgers at dinner and all this different stuff. And so in this picture I got right here, he's got this steak that is like something out of the Flintstones. I mean, the steak is ridiculous.
It's like the size of his chest.
It looks like an entire, a quarter of a side of beef. I mean, he's got this huge steak, and you can see how big it is because it's measured by these forks. The fork is like a pencil next to this thing. It's so small. But he's it was sort of a joke photo as a post photo, but it was a real thing. They actually did make him this massive steak. I don't know if he ate that entire thing, but I mean, it's it just kind of shows the sense of humor that they had about this guy, right? And so anyways, like I say, this is a guy that comes in, and now we've got, these signings of these players. So anyways, this is the guy that's joining the Olympics. Okay. Now I want to read to you, this comes from the end of his first season in Detroit. So at this point he had played a full season with the Detroit Olympics, and now he's playing a few games with the Detroit Red Wings at the end of the year. This is his first taste of the NHL. Okay. He ended up playing, I got it written down here. I think it was 9 games. Okay. He had 6 games. He played 6 games with the Red Wings at the end of 1934-35, just to get him a little bit, just to see how he could do. Okay. And now we're about to read how he did in his final few games of that 1934-35 season.
Okay.
All right. So 35. It's just the next page. Then. Yes. Here it is right here. Okay. All right. Okay. So right here. So the only thing I said on this was shortly after his Red Wing debut late in the 34-35 season. So crowd adopts Bucko. Speaking of hockey, one could judge from the roar of the crowd last night at Olympia that a new idol soon may be hoisted to the summit in Detroit. The name is Bucko McDonald, the hard-hitting young defenseman of the Red Wings. When Bucko bumps them, they stay bumped. Probably he doesn't have the finesse of Red Horner or Eddie Shore when he hands out hard knocks, but Mr. Bucko McDonald can bounce the boys around the ice for my money. In football, hockey, or whatever it is, the customers thrive on bodily contact. It is one of the reasons why some coaches are against opening up the game of football too much. But that's getting away from Mr. Bucko McDonald. The bruising young man just about shook every tooth out of Howie Morenz's head last evening. It was Socko, Bingo, Crasho, and Bammo when Blackhawk came within halting distance of the bouncing Bucko. The crowd officially adopted Bucko last night. He is the fair-haired golden boy from this time on. Socko, Bucko, long may you wave. Don't tell me that's not somebody that loves this guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that, and it goes on and on and on and on. And it's article after article after article about his entire story through the 1935 season. And there's ups and downs, there's a moment when he's like the team's not playing great, Bucko's down, and Adams is furious at him saying you need to stop eating. You're putting on too much weight. Your causes us. You're gonna eat your way out of the league. And everything's kind of down. And so Bucko's like getting hammered by like, at first it was fun in games because he was eating all the time.
Yeah,
and now it's like, you're a
yeah.
detriment to the team. Bucko, you need to stop living up to this reputation as this big. So it's like, you can see like his story throughout the season. It's just, it's fascinating. And he's there. I mean, he's this kind of guy that in the playoffs, he's kind of like a Darren McCarty type. If anybody's listening, remembers Darren McCarty during these big Stanley Cup runs, because Darren McCarty, Darren McCarty was not known really. He was known as as a hard hitter, enforcer type, but he's also a skilled player. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Darren McCarty was awesome, but in the playoffs, like he would seem to score like more goals in the playoffs than he did all year long. And that's kind of how Bucko was. Like he would score I think he had 1 goal in 1934 with the minor leagues, and he had like 2 goals in 35. But in the playoffs, he had like 4 goals. He just totally he was in another gear. And so, but he was like this guy that was just always having fun no matter what he did. And at that type of player, the impact that a guy like this can have, you want to, it's almost like, this guy's just this big, he's like a big dumb kid, he's just like this big, doesn't know any better. Doesn't know that he's supposed to have had like 6 years of hockey under his belt, and that there's all these different, techniques and stuff like this. He's just going out there skating and hitting people. And, every once in a great while, scoring a goal, just having fun, And so anyways, he is just going to be like one of the fascinations and the way that the season of 35 is going to end up. I guess I don't want to give that all away, but he's going to just to show you how good he's going to become. He is, he finishes second in rookie of the year running in 35 behind only Mike Caracas of the Blackhawks goalie. So that's where I wanted to go with. These are the 3 guys that we have, and I wanted to introduce them because in 34, 35, these guys, these are minor leaguers. They're not Red Wings. No. These are guys that they don't even know. They don't know that Adams doesn't know that these 3 guys are the final pieces of the puzzle. He doesn't know that. Yeah. These guys are Bucko McDonald is a great, there's another great quote here where they say, he's like, he's as green, he's green, he's like, but he's as green as green hickory. Like, he's like tough, like he's as green as green hickory, he's, and so, but he like I say, these guys are just there's minor leaguers. And so, but what's interesting is that once again, the Olympics win this championship. And these are 3 of the big components of the reason why. And so at the end of the season, and this is really what I kind of wanted to leave off with today, was that we've already talked about the guys that Adams has acquired. Mm-hmm. And then, he knows that he's got potentially some guys in the Olympics that might be able to help him. But at the end of the year, or going into to the next season, they set up an inter-city series between these guys, some of these newfound additions and everything. And the Olympics win this series. Okay. The Olympics win 2-1. Like what must Adams be thinking? Like they've just rebuilt this roster, spent all this money on these players in this scrappy group of Olympics led by, keep in mind, his trainer from the Ottawa days, Donnie Hughes. Donnie Hughes, the trainer of that Ottawa team that Adams was on for that won that Stanley Cup championship. And so Donnie Hughes is the coach of the Olympics, and this Olympics team beats the Red Wings. They win 2. There's a 3-game series. The O's win 2 and they tie 1. So they swept them. It wasn't just like they won 1 game out of 3. They beat the heck out of them, beat them ragged. So I'm like, Adams has got to be going like, hold on a second. I got an idea. Let's just take all of our Red Wings players, put them to the Olympics, and then bring the Olympics up to the majors, right? Let's just switch teams. Yeah. Because they just won, if this was a regular season, that's a great start to a season. You just won 2 straight or whatever. So, so Adams has got to be going, man, there's got to be some talent to mine out of this thing, right? And so that's what I'm saying. So that when you're looking, Adams is starting to go, what's the reason why? What's the reason why? Who are on this team that are these difference makers? And he's looking around. He's got, Heck Kilrea's younger brother down there, the captain of the team. He's got the goalie that took the team to the championship the previous year, and Normie Smith. And he's got this crazy kid that's like just having fun smashing his guys against the boards.
Hulk like to smash.
Yeah, like basically that's what you're dealing with here. So he's got this crazy kid with big ears. You call Bucko the Socko. We got the only guy ever that's got 2 nicknames is for a nickname. Bucko the Socko. Like Bucko is a nickname, and the Socko is a nickname based off the first nickname. So he's got this big eared crazy kid down here, and he's like, let's give these guys a shot when this new season comes up. And we're gonna find out, it's gonna it's gonna work out.
Was there another picture that
the bottom picture that this this is the thing I want to show you. Let's show this real quick. The bottom of this Bucko McDonald picture, this is a picture of Wally and Bucko in this. Like that's just a little quick photo. It's nothing super important. I just thought it was kind of cool that they were both in the same photo together. So anyways, in the next shot, I had to bring this in. And he just I had to show this picture. This isn't really part of
one
the
of your
story.
prized possessions.
This is one of my prized possessions. Yes.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe I found this. Okay. So anyways, this is a photo there's a picture on the screen. It's a photo of Bucko McDonald, and he's wearing a New York Rangers jersey where he finished up his career. So he's a little bit older on in this photo, right? But in the inscription on this photo, I was on eBay. This is at a point where I'm scouring everywhere. Like, I actually had to acquire game programs. Like, I'd spend $500 on a game program just to get the information out of it for something. And then I would scan it and I would send it right back. I would sell it right back onto eBay or whatever. Right. Because I didn't have any money when I was doing this book. Every single nickel I had went into this. And so anyways, I came, for the most part, everything I saw, I bought it. And then especially if it was expensive, I would sell it right back into eBay. But this particular item, this was a luxury piece. This was something that I had to buy and I was not selling, and I will never sell. And I had to, so what I did was it was tough to read the inscription on this photo. So what I did was I basically, I took a screenshot, or I scanned it, and then I traced over it and then moved the text off of the picture so you can see what the inscription is. And can anybody see what that says on the screen?
Yeah, it says, "To my good friend Charlie."
To my good friend Charlie,
wishing you the best of everything.
The only Bucko McDonald autograph I've ever seen on eBay was signed to my good friend Charlie. Again, my name's Charles.
How do you not buy
Charlie?
That, right?
Some people call me Charlie. All right, and like, I know he didn't sign it specifically to me, but if you're gonna buy an autograph for your favorite guy, that said it's inscribed with your name on it,
Absolutely.
So I was like, I think it was $50, and I was like, man, $50, especially at that point, I was like, $50. That's a lot to buy something with, and then not like doing, like it's just going to be kind of like a, personal thing, memento or whatever. But I'm like, dude, this is coming with me, man. It's I signed it, Charlie, man. He signed it to me, like through the years. So, and of all the names in the world, it kind of ties in that newspaper. We told that newspaper story in one of the first few episodes. Of all the people that it could have been signed to. It's not like there's like 1,000 Bucko McDonald autographs. And I was like, oh, there's one for Harry and one for Luke and one for this. This is the only one on there. It's the only autograph on eBay. Yeah. Right. And it's to Charlie. And I'm like, that's coming with me.
Take my money.
Yeah. So I got that. And so I had to show this because it's like, I don't know. If it's fun. It's basically like show and tell. Yeah. That's it's like showing it. So we were talking about Bucko McDonald. And this sits in my office, and it's like I've got so much stuff that's like, on the walls and on the shelves and stuff, but this is definitely in a prominent spot. So I scanned it, put it on the screen, and highlighted the signatures for everybody to see. So that's all I got for the day.
Yeah.
We got any questions? So I know we got Tom coming up for his thing.
I did.
And by the way, I wanted to say something. If anybody's watching this,
right,
and there are people watching. I don't want to say if anybody's watching, because there's tons of people.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people.
Oh my God.
We don't even know what to do. It's crazy, right? But anyways, any questions there are, if anybody has any questions, you want to write into the show, you know what I mean? If there's something that we're just, I don't think we're powering anything we're taking our time going through this. So if anybody's got any questions, especially, this we're putting this on YouTube or archiving it. And everybody that's listening to this right now, you do us a huge favor if you like this and shared it. I know it's sort of something we talk about at the end of the show, but
we keep forgetting to do that at the top.
So anybody, ask a question, put a comment on there, ask somebody that maybe you're interested, that if you have a question on, but anyways, I want to do that. I wanted to say that before I forget it, because I get, start talking and forget stuff like that. But after that,
Tom's here.
Yes.
Let's have Tom tell us a story.
But Tom's got his his segment every day, which is a Did You Know? Tom's got a Did You Know section. It could be anything in the world. Yeah.
Well, did you know, speaking of hockey, that in 1946, Gordie Howe was invited to train at the New York Rangers to see if he could make the team. You know what happened? They cut him. They said he was too slow and too cumbersome. And then he was working his way back home to Floral, Saskatchewan, and he stopped off in Windsor to see some friends before he boarded to go to Floral. And he went down for a skate at Olympia, and the rest is Detroit's history.
Whoa. That's great. And when he got to Detroit, there was plenty of people asking, is this another Sid Howe?
Yeah.
Could this guy be as good as Sid Howe? Is he related to Sid? I don't know. But if he's even half as good as Sid was, find ourselves a good player here. That was the moment. That was the mindset at that time.
The Rangers said he was too slow and too cumbersome.
That's
I watched Howe play many a game, and they always said he skated like a lumber wagon, but he always scored when he had the puck. He could tuck that puck in between his boots.
Really?
And nobody could touch him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. The Rangers' fault and Detroit's luck.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, things happen. Yeah, things work out.
So that's Did You Know? And write in, and maybe somebody might have something.
Yeah, we were going to say that. Yeah, if somebody has a Did You Know or a question or something you want to write into.
A little piece of Detroit sports nuggets, we're happy to share them.
Yeah, especially anything related to the 1935 season. Any
Detroit sport nugget, we'll take it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like nuggets.
Yeah, and if you're one of the the other thing too, if you're like I said it a few episodes ago, I told this story to at least this is conservatively estimated because I told this story every weekend for 9 years. I told the story at least 3 times a day. I work in the store in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the story at least 3 times today.
Yeah.
I'm talking about today. Okay, before I got to the show, I told this story 3 different times, and so I conservatively estimated over the last 11 years, I've told this story this is estimated a few years ago, 80,000 people, right? So by now, I don't even know, a couple, like 100,000 at least.
Larry King kind of numbers, man.
There's a point where I had to drink honey to because my voice would be going. But anyways, what I'm saying is if I ran into you somewhere, if I look familiar and you remember this story, like this, this guy at some art show telling you a story, like say hi, man. We'll say hi. It's like I said, there's quite a few people that I talk to. So if you remember me from back in the day, telling you the story, you're seeing this back in the day. Let us know.
And we appreciate everybody along for the ride.
Yeah, everybody's
So like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you're listening. Appreciate it. Matt Fox killing it back there.
Having fun. I learned so much today.
Yeah,
I honestly did.
No, that's fun, man.
Tom, always a pleasure to have you along.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
And Charles, thank you for sharing the stories.
My pleasure. I love it.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you.